Well, the themes are very well laid out in the prologue that Badoaro supplied to Monteverdi, which is the central theme is l'umana fragilità, fragile human life. In this case, the character of Ulysses, who is the fragile human life that they're working on. And in the prologue, l'umana fragilità is personified by a singer, a countertenor. And he is subject to three great pressures. The pressures of time, which is limited to humans. The pressures of love, which is an inevitable snare that they have to cope with. And the pressures of fortune, which is fate or the good luck or even monetary success or whatever it is, in whatever form it comes. And those three great factors in every human's life are what dictates whether they will be happy or unhappy, whether they will be successful or unsuccessful, and so on. In other words, they are subject to the whims of the gods and what the gods have decided humans should be allowed to have or not allowed to have. The first decision that Lawrence Cummings and Rob Jones and I took on deciding to follow up Orfeo with Ulysses is that we would perform it in more or less the same space, because we all believe that Renaissance opera is best performed when the musicians and the singers are all in the same room together. Those operas are not well served by having musicians in the pit separated from the singers. You want to feel that all of the artists are in the same space, all collaborating together to create the work. People who saw Orfeo will remember that Lawrence scarcely conducted it. I don't think he ever gave a downbeat with his hand. He would occasionally just nod with his head a couple of times. And the reason for that was that the singers and the musicians and Lawrence were all just breathing the work together. And I think that created a lovely atmosphere, almost so that the audience too felt that they were involved in making the music. So we've used the same structure of having the musicians all around and the central area, the acting area. But Rob has created a very different atmosphere. In Orfeo, it was obviously a completely rustic and natural environment with the green everywhere and the sun coming in through the Garsington windows. But this is a more internal space, because most of the opera takes place in Penelope's house or around her house in the gardens. Some of it takes place at sea, some of it is in sort of God space where you meet the gods. So there are scenic devices we've had to invent to be able to differentiate between those two spaces, 2 or 3, 4 spaces. I think what Monteverdi does is he creates extraordinary complexity in his music. He must have been a wonderful collaborator, and in this case he and Badoaro have created a group of characters who are incredibly complex. Badoaro in his libretto, every one of them, even the ones who seem to be rather two-dimensional at first, are actually very complex creatures. All of them subject to fortune, love and time in their different ways, so carrying on the theme of the prologue. And Monteverdi's great gift is to find those elements of great complexity bar by bar by bar as he goes. He illustrates what Badoaro has given him in the words in order to create depth and complexity for the singer to perform. That's why it's such a gift for singers. I think some designers and lighting designers especially find Garsington a little challenging, because on a sunny day there's nothing for them to do for the first hour and a half. But I rather love that about Garsington, because in fact most great Renaissance drama is written to start in the daylight and end at night. Nearly all the Act Fives in Renaissance drama end with candlelight, torchlight, starlight. You look at all of Shakespeare's plays, and so many of the great Renaissance dramas do that, because that's how they were performed. You started your evening when the sun was still just up, and then you worked through until it was really dark. And that sense of everything becoming more and more concentrated, with the audience being more and more focused on just the stage and just who's performing on the stage, is a delightful part of working at Garsington, I think. The opera is fundamentally a comedy. although there are very serious things in it, it ends happily for the morally worthy people and unhappily for the morally unworthy people. In fact, most of them die by the end, which is a little bit violent. But although it is a comedy, it would be a terrible mistake to try to send it up or make it over-comedic or farcical, because it's just not like that. Every character in the opera is complex and real. So even the most egregiously, morally unworthy people have got an element to them that makes you understand, oh, I know somebody exactly like that. Or maybe, oh, I'm a little bit like that myself. So I think it will be delightful for an audience to pick the bones out of a community of people who are very like us, who you will see in any company or any rehearsal room or any restaurant. You know, these are just normal people trying to work out how to live against the terrible vicissitudes of human life.